Hey, friends! We got another edition of the show, and today this one's special. I, not months. This one's been in the works for years. I'm no lie. No, my guest today is Superintendent of Pflugerville. The coolest name. If we had like the all-name district, this one would be at the tippy top. Pflugerville ISD, one of the fastest-growing school districts in the state of Tejas, Texas, serving roughly a little under 30,000 students in kind of the suburban area of Austin, right. That corridor. He's also an author many times over, and I want him to just brag about a few of the books that he's written here today. He's an adjunct professor. I don't know. He's the guy that can probably sew his arm back together if a thing fell off. He's really skilled guy. Seriously. So, he's a superintendent also. I guess that's probably what brings us into this place in a time that's pretty politically charged and where the job really isn't for everybody. So welcome to the show, Quintin.
Thank you. I'm so glad to be here, and I'm glad we finally made the time that we could work it out in our schedules, our collective schedules.
Yeah.
Have you? The last day, our last day with students was yesterday.
So when's commencement? Has that happened yet?
No, that's next week. Next Wednesday.
Next week. Did they let you speak?
Yeah, but I keep it short because I'm always mindful of the fact that nobody really cares what I have to say.
Like, that is the guy. If we had snow here, that's the only reason why we'd care about him.
That's right.
Anyway, so I got to start here. Superintendent, I mentioned, is one of probably the most politically charged jobs on the planet right now, in the American public school life. I was actually meeting with a superintendent friend a couple of days ago who he's going to a bigger district, and he had a number of people that were applying for his job. And he said, some of them have been out of education for a couple of years. And he said, it's a whole different ballgame. He said, we can't hire somebody because the lions and tigers and bears are different. They're much different today than what they were maybe when that person stepped out. So you've got union negotiations, you got budget fist fights, you got parent groups, you got legislative pressure. Most people who get into that chair, they're just like, clench their butt cheeks and just everything really tightly, just like, hang on.
Yeah.
But you name yourself Chief Encouragement Officer. I pulled that from your LinkedIn. I'm like, what is that all about?
Well, I think it's to the groundwork that you started to lay. It becomes very easy for us to forget that one of our roles as leaders is to communicate the message, tell stories. I also sometimes introduce myself as chief storyteller. And because that's what we do. We tell stories and we connect with people. And we have to recognize that in this period that we're going through now, you can talk fiscally, you can talk politically, but that if we're not ambassadors of hope, we're not doing our job. And that then makes me the chief encouragement officer through the good, the bad, the ugly, and everything in between. That, like, a question, a more direct way of answering that question is, I asked myself several years ago, like, what is the legacy that I hope to leave behind? And I think a leader, they start their career and they have this idea of what it should be. And I think everybody has to answer it for themselves. The answer that is true for me is that I hope that the legacy that I leave in every institution that I get the opportunity to lead is a legacy of hope. I think if you do that, you've done your job. And so, Chief Encouragement Officer, I'm the harbinger of hope.
The Harbinger of Hope. We're looking for a title for this podcast. What do you think we might call this one? The Harbinger of Hope. I can't think of a better time to be a hope-filled leader than in this time, when you look at all of the data out there and you look at all of the rancor in every community's headlines. And superintendents I don't know what's happening in the state of Texas, but it's, maybe a 3-year run for a soup in a district on average, and then let's find another one. So they're just getting chewed up. You've stuck around for a few contracts.
I have. This is actually the close of business yesterday, the close of school, sending kids home yesterday. It was my 22nd year as a superintendent in 3 different states.
Okay. That is a rarity. Absolutely rare. So you could probably write a book on what it takes for you to be hope-filled. Kind of at the tail end. You got a lot of fuel left in your tank. I know you do. But seriously, if there was a topic about, that should fill an auditorium, this season in your leadership cycle, you are probably as hope-filled as you've ever been.
Ever.
Tell me how that's even possible.
Yeah. Well, it's because I've seen the evolution of the work itself. I could talk about this from a leadership context. I could talk about this from an organizational context, but I've never been more excited, at the same time like pressured and feel the weight of the work itself. But I think the thing that continues to give me hope is that there is a bright future if we choose to make it for ourselves, and we can't just wait for it. We can't hope that the cavalry is going to come, but it's incumbent upon us to create the
Mm,
conditions for that to be true. And now, the first 10 years of my career, it's absolutely true. All the writing that you read, that like you're figuring out the job, you're figuring out your leadership, and you're not really good at anything. And then you start to get good at a few things. And now I'm at that stage of my career where it's like, I
yeah.
think I know at least one, and maybe I know two things really well. And then I'm going to
Unconscious,
lean into those.
unconsciously. Like you probably
That's
don't even know what they are, but your team would go, "You do that really well," and you go, "I do."
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. But I think now, and the thing that I keep coming back to is, we were in a period of education, and one that I remember very well, that operated in a culture of abundance. And now with what's happening
Mm,
financially around the
mhm.
country, forget about Texas for a minute, around the country, and what's happening with the attack on public education, and as you mentioned, the politicization of the role and the work, that a lot of communities and a lot of leaders are retreating into a culture of scarcity,
Yeah, yeah,
and that is absolutely the wrong move. It is incumbent upon us. It is our charge as leaders in a public sphere to be the harbingers of hope. It is incumbent upon us to find a way to lead towards that light, and remember that a culture of abundance is a culture that creates opportunities for kids and communities. And a culture of scarcity is one where I move into protection and reductionism, which is not a path forward for education.
no, it's not. You can smell it. You can
Yeah,
smell it in the room. I mean,
you
so
can.
we put cucumbers in a jar and put that kind of preservative around, and
Yeah,
we're not going to use that metaphor because it doesn't work very well. But self-preservation is something that teams and people are repulsed by,
that's right.
and they're
Nobody wants
attracted.
nobody draws inspiration from a leader who's thinking in that way. They
Not at
don't.
all. But being honest and vulnerable and staying hope-filled while
Yeah.
the winds and the waves are
Yeah.
splashing all over the place.
The
But
word I always come back to is compassionate. That's my
mm,
leadership. That's my orientation, compassionate. And I always feel the need to break that word down. I wrote
that
about this.
sounds really soft, boss. I'm just telling you.
Absolutely. But I wrote about this extensively in my first book, The Secret to Transformational Leadership. And compassion, just breaking that word down, passion is to suffer. Compassion is to suffer with,
With, with,
right? And
yeah.
not to suffer for, but to suffer with. And so what does that mean? What does that challenge us as a leader? That challenges us to lean into vulnerability. I always get a kick out of people who say, well, this moment calls for vulnerability. No, 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 no. You don't understand vulnerability. The truth about vulnerability is you are vulnerable, period. that's that's
That's
it.
it.
Whether or not you choose to recognize it or not, I
Yeah.
guess that's on you. But the truth is you're vulnerable. So lean into that. Lean into that. And then when and why and how and all the stuff. Well, there's actually a pretty easy formula for that. There's only two types of decisions that come to a leader in the public sphere. Now, I'm not just talking about superintendents now. I'm talking about if you lead in the public sphere, there's only two types of decisions that ever come to your desk:
We're going to clip this. Okay. So, two types of decisions that ever come to your desk. Ready?
complicated and complex.
Oh, the difference between the two.
Complicated, there's one right answer. There's one right way to do it. You should expect a public sphere leader to either be able to do that work themselves, or most often their staff does the work. And you should expect perfection or pretty close to it.
I
Putting
spent a lot of time on Delta airplanes, and building a Delta airplane is complicated.
it is complicated.
Yeah.
Putting a man on the moon is complicated.
Yeah.
There's just a series of math formulas for that. And
Mhm.
if you know the math formulas, you can put a man on the moon. I spend probably in a system, and I think different size systems, you spend different proportions of your time doing the work. But in my system and the work that I do, I spend maybe 10%, maybe 15% of my day focused on the complicated, but my
Yeah.
staff does most of that. Complex is inherently unknowable.
Yeah.
When is the best time to open schools? When's the best time to close schools? When should we shift enrollment trends? How do you educate kids during a pandemic? How do you best educate kids in the world of AI? Anybody who says I know the answer is somebody who probably doesn't belong in the conversation.
Or listen to a podcast where somebody had 3 simple points to figuring out the complicated in the complex world. But no, raising children,
Complex,
complex.
inherently unknowable, and where leaders get themselves in trouble. And you mentioned the short tenure of leaders around the country. Where leaders get themselves in trouble is we get in the habit of thinking that this complex problem is something that's complicated and to be solved.
Yeah.
And so I bring together a bunch of really smart people, and then we trot out our answer to the community and say, this is the answer. And the community is like, hey, it's actually not the answer. I wish you would have asked me. And so to use a very clear example, then what the leader does is when you're first focused with this complex issue, budget austerity, the first thing you do is you go to your community and you say, we got a problem and I need to gather some people who are really smart and want to help solve this problem. And we're going to put the question out there before we put an answer out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Let's talk about AI. Let's just talk about AI.
Are we going there?
How many leaders? I think we should for a minute.
Okay.
How many leaders are gathering their smartest people and they're gathering around a room and they're saying, this is our AI strategic plan and here's our AI policies and here's the AI. And then they march it out to their teachers, they march it out to their students, they march it out to their parents.
Wait, and it was put together in a framework. So when you say framework, then this thing is bulletproof. We're ready to go. Lock it up.
What you're saying to the community is this is complicated. So I'm treating this as an expertise problem. And what I'm really asking for you to do, community, is to grade my homework. Well, the first thing the community is going to do is they're going to go online and they're going to find 5 other plans that rival yours or better than yours. And they're going to say, I'm happy to give you a grade. Let's call it a D.
Right.
Versus go to the community, treat it as complex and say, you know what? We've never actually educated kids in the world of AI and systems that are evolving faster than we are. And we've got this issue we want to deal with. And where do you start? Where do you start? Joe, the question you're going to ask me is, where do you start? I think you start with the people who are closest to the issue. So for me, I went straight to the kids. In my superintendent student advisory committee, I went straight to the kids and I'm like, listen, we're thinking about AI policies and educating kids in the world of AI. What do you all think?
Oh my, the wisdom, Quintin. And where most are going, they're going to the Google summits. Yep. They're heading to, the valley of San Francisco. They're going elsewhere and leaving the farm.
Yeah, right. And when you frame it this way, you're like, well, yeah, it seems obvious. But what's not obvious is how much humility does it take for a leader to say to a group of students or say to a group of teachers, I actually don't know the answer, but I think you can help me find the answer.
I think
know I've got this question.
Right here, because you've done it, which does not make it any less complex, but you've actually engaged the students. So just give us a sense of how you were thinking about that, how you walked into it, and kind of maybe some of the feedback that you received that was legit.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. The kids are so smart. They inherently, they know instantaneously that there's a place for AI in the system and there's not a place for AI in the system. And they're pretty quick to distinguish where that happens around mastery of content.
Are they originally thinking, or is this the tabletop dinner conversations that they're just regurgitating from their parents?
No, this is original thinking.
Wow.
This is absolutely original thinking. And you've got a group of kids, it's a small group of kids, but you've got a group of kids who legitimately have concerns about AI is going to take my job, or AI is not even going to allow me to get a job. And so I'm kind of anti-AI. That's the context I'm bringing to the table, but I'm open to a conversation. And so now we're into the psychology of the adolescent brain and how are they helping guide us. And I'll tell you a story or a metaphor and that they've helped me land on that just feels perfect. And here it is. Think back to the advent of the automobile. When the automobile was first created, it was 15 years until we started to put speed limits together. It was 20 years until we started to think about seatbelts. It was 30 years until we institutionalized seatbelts. It was almost 40 years until we started thinking about drinking and driving laws. And so what the kids helped me frame was a story. The story is this.
Yeah.
We have created the automobile. You and I, our generation created AI. Our kids are in the back seat and they recognize we're doing it dangerously and doing it wrong. Drinking and driving, no speed limits, no seatbelts. And they're saying to themselves, they made it, it's unsafe, we have to make it better. See, these kids now, they're the ones who are going to write the policy. They're the ones who are going to write the laws. They're the ones who are going to make this technology safe for us. And they're looking for us to not teach them, to not tell them what the governance protocols need to be. They're looking for us to say, give me the skills to think, give me the skills to lead, give me the skills to govern so that I can do it. It's not incumbent on you to do this because you can't do it. You invented the technology and you don't know how to use it, just like the people who invented the automobile. We're the ones who are going to fix it for our kids. See, it's yours and my grandkids that will be the ultimate beneficiary.
This is upside down. This is upside down thinking, but it makes absolute sense right now. You're just, my brain just broke thinking about allowing a child to be the executive producer of our future. Wait,
brilliantly stated. Brilliantly stated. And that's what we should be focused on. So when we're focusing on all these AI things for kids, I think we're actually focusing on the wrong thing. I think we should be focusing on, let's make sure that they're able to do what needs to be done because they know what needs to be done. They just need the skills, the dispositions, the thought processes, all the things that education is supposed to do anyway, to allow them to lead the future in the way that we hope that they will.
So what gets in the way of us doing that more often?
Ourselves. I think quite simply, we treat this as something that we're supposed to solve, that we're supposed to do. We're treating it a little bit complicated.
Hey friends, quick question before we get back to it. I know that you have talented people on your leadership team, but is your team actually performing to its full potential? Most aren't, and most don't know why. The Team Intelligence Assessment is a solution to change that. Find out where your team stands at higherperformancegroup.com. Go to find your starting point to get started today, or click the QR code in the screen right here. All right, back to the show.
And not recognizing, like, step back. It's the whole step back and see the forest for the trees. Well, in some instances, I talk to school leaders around the country. I'm sure you talk to even more of them who are looking at the leaves and they don't even see the tree, much less the forest.
Yeah. And without that sense of hopefulness as they're looking, it's from a scarcity mindset, right? And I've done some work as well, but this is about your work, not mine. But I know the power of scarcity. It is a multiplier within the system.
It is.
It accelerates fragmentation. It accelerates isolation.
It does.
It accelerates exhaustion.
It does, because
it accelerates comparison.
That's
all
right.
of that.
Right. Because for me to have mine, it means you can't have yours.
Exactly. Where what you're bringing to the table is there's enough for everybody here.
There is.
And there's no scarcity as long as we are thinking not complicated.
Yeah.
That this is a complex issue.
Yeah. And that we're solving it together.
And we are solving it together.
And I'm probably not the one to solve it.
Wait a second, but you have preferred parking on campus. You should. That's your job. I often do this with an executive team. I'll say, okay, and I'll point to the leader. So I'll point to Quintin. I'll say, okay, what does this dude need to do to keep his job and his preferred parking space? And everybody says the same old things. Well, listen, just be available, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
And no.
The guy ask a really good, first of all, determine.
What do you think it is? What do you think that answer is? Not that I have the right answer.
Yeah.
But I usually do if I get the invoice and I come in and get to play the smartest guy in the room, but I'm not.
Yeah. No.
What do you think that is? So you're most important. You have one thing to do. One thing. You got to do it.
Ask the right question. Maybe.
That's part of the process. You have to ask the right question in order to make the right decision.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that you get paid the big bucks to do.
That's right.
You got to make great decisions, and you cannot do that without asking the right questions. So you totally are on the right track.
That's right.
Totally are on the right track.
It's one of the things that I often talk to leaders about when I teach, or aspiring leaders, or in the nature of my work. I spend a lot of time with leaders who are early career or aspiring, and so on and so forth. And it quickly devolves like good or bad. And I'm like, put that away. Stop that. That's a waste of your time. It really is. Good and bad is a contextual, and people bring it to its value judgment. It's ultimately unhelpful. The question about leadership, I wish everybody talked about leadership this way first. The question about leadership is a question itself. And the question is this: what does it do? What does your leadership do in this moment? Don't think about good or bad. What is your leadership? We can talk about AI. We can talk about anything. We can talk about anything that a leader faces. The question is, what is it doing? And
Yeah.
if it advances this cause in this way to solve the right question at the right time for this group of people, then that's what your leadership is doing. It's not about good or bad. It's about that's what your leadership is doing. And if your leadership is doing the wrong thing, that's okay. Be
Mm.
honest with yourself and ask what should it be doing. This is the essence. Like you could look to the leadership theory and say, oh, what he's talking about is situational leadership. Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
kind of. Maybe he's embracing Ross's theory of leadership. Leadership is nothing more than an influence relationship between a
But
group.
and we're so quick to just agree to the theories and principles, and that's the outcome, is that we agree. Wait, that does nothing.
It does nothing
It
until you've
can't
asked the question, what does it do?
exactly.
And once
Exactly.
you've done that, then you have all the theory and everything else. Now you can connect that to the practical nature of the work.
Are you a Simon Sinek fan?
Huge, huge fan.
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah.
I can I mean, you'd be like his twin brother. Just the level of wisdom and creativity and just the clever way that you go about. You just need a little bit of UK in you, and you're there.
And I'm
I
there.
wish we had some more time, but I do want to just dive in quickly to your latest book,
Yeah.
The Art of Something with School Boards.
The art of school board leadership. Yeah.
That-
So this is book number 3.
okay, what was the question behind you writing that?
Yeah, great question. Really, it was an extension on book number 2. Book number 2, I started to get into school board leadership a lot more because my first book was transformational leadership, written for leaders specifically, and then a publishing company approached me for book number 2, and that was like, how do you get a board? What's the board's role in transformational leadership? And so I went out and as a professor, I asked myself the same question. I realized there's not a
Mm,
lot of literature about this. And
mm,
so I wrote that like the board actually has a pretty important role in creating that bedrock foundation for transformational leadership to actually move forward. And so I put it forward as a formula, if you will, or a framework or so on and so forth, that you follow these steps and this is how it happens, and so on and so forth. And then no sooner did that book come out and get a little bit of popularity that a different publisher reached out to me and they're like, listen, you clearly have a lot to say about school board leadership, especially now in this evolving time, and so on and so forth. And so what does that look like? And I started writing, and we landed on this notion of art of school board leadership. And what it really is it's a hearkening call back to what does it mean to be in service? And to your question, what's it all about? Like in service to what? That's really the
yeah.
entire book is grounded in this notion of service, and service to what?
Ugh.
Public education. Pause.
How do we get that on every billboard across every
Right.
community? We've
And
lost
then we
our
can
way in a broken system. We've lost our way, and I'm just so grateful for people like you that are not only acting and doing, but also writing to help scale, these ideas to practice. And
Yeah. When I'm
well,
when I what I often say to people who aspire to be writers is that when I'm not thinking enough, I read, and when I'm thinking too much, I write.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, this has been a delightful exchange. I wish we had some more time, but I do want to get into this lightning round just real
Yeah,
quick hit. I'm going to ask you about a few things. The first thing is a quote.
yeah.
Is there a quote that you live by?
Well, there's a quote, and I don't think it's attributed to anybody. It's kind of my own quote, but it gets back to this notion of hope, and it's a Quintin Shepherd quote if there is one. But it's if we're going after Moby Dick, let's make sure to remember to take along the tartar sauce. Here's
That's
the point of that quote. We're going after big things in education. If you're not going after big things that you can't solve in your lifetime, you're thinking too small. But you got to have some hope. You got to have some recognition that we're going to get there. So don't forget the tartar sauce.
yeah, yeah. I don't know if it's getting glitchy on your end, but
It's
yeah,
I'm here. Can you still
okay.
hear me?
Yeah, we've got audio, so this is really
Perfect.
good. And I think it's going to catch up to us, but I love that quote. I love. How about the worst advice that you've ever received in leading people?
The worst advice that I've ever received in leading people is don't keep an 8 out of 10. Fire
Mm.
an 8.
Oh my gosh.
And the
What
idea
up?
behind it, the idea behind it wasn't a horrible idea. The idea behind it was like you can only coach people up one level. And so like get rid of anybody who's not like a 10 out of 10. And it doesn't work. People will surprise you.
I love best advice, in all fairness.
Yeah. Best
Def-
advice I've ever
yeah.
received.
Hmm.
Um, Stay humble.
Do you have any unpopular opinions? At
Right.
work? I'm not talking at home, at work.
Right now, a lot of my opinions around AI, because I'm pushing back on the approach that a lot of leaders are taking around AI, and I think it's ultimately unhelpful for where we need to be going.
Whataburger or like Central Texas barbecue?
Central Texas barbecue all the way, start to
Come
finish.
on. Come on. Have you changed your mind about anything recently?
Yeah, that one's a tough one. The answer is yes, on a daily basis. I'm changing my mind. I think the best superintendents probably lay awake at night with the same four words rolling through their head. What if I'm wrong?
Mm, yeah. No, I get it. I get it. That's rich. Um, a decision that you made in your career, you'd make 10 times over.
Chase, wow. A decision, say that again. A decision you made in your career that you would make again 10 times over.
10 times over. Yep.
Never give up on your principles. Never give up on your beliefs. So the decision being the many decisions that are unpopular. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. If you're not running a district, what are you doing?
If I'm not running, I'm writing full time.
You're writing full time.
Yeah. I wish that I could figure out a way that like the after a superintendent that would become my reality when that time arrives.
We haven't talked much about your district, but is there a word or a phrase that would just really capture Pflugerville's future?
Hopeful.
Mm,
I'm sure you're not surprised by that.
no.
We are nothing but potential here. We are just everywhere I look, it's just potential. In people, in programs, in processes. We are unlike any district I've ever led. More potential.
Wow. Wow. Is there a question you have for me?
What have you changed your mind on recently?
Mm. Yeah, much of it is around just the excitement and just the full head-on, straight-line wins around AI. It's the prudence,
Mm,
I think, of
mm,
that. And I'm reminded because my kids are having kids now, and they're really, really concerned.
oh,
So yeah, they're helping me to kind of reframe a little
yeah.
bit. I
Well, that isn't that the call of like wisdom is to help reframe,
Yeah, absolutely. No,
not to
I
not
see
to
my
slow,
grand.
as Adam Grant says, not to slow down our thinking, but to speed up our rethinking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, this has been a long time coming, and I'm so delighted to have had the chance to spend some time with the man.
Me too.
Quintin, you've been a gift. You've been a gift to me in terms of wisdom and knowledge and just understanding of how things ought to work. And this whole thing, this whole arc of hope that you brought to the table here is worth, I think, just clipping and recycling and clipping and recycling in this era that we happen to live in. If there's a non-hope filled leader out there that is aspiring to be a superintendent, any words of advice that you would have for them today?
Yeah, take the time to reflect and find the others who have hope. Find the others, connect with hope. Connect with hope. We need each other now more than ever. Connect with hope. We're out there. The hopeful among us are out there.
Yeah.
You're one of them, Joe. I'm one of them. We know each other. We need to find each other. We need to stay strong for each other.
And I
More
think
than ever.
the challenge to each other also is if you've got hope, you should be lending that to others.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Lender of hope. If they want to learn more about your district and you specifically as a leader, where do they go?
Straight to Google. There aren't very many Quintin Shepherds out there. You go straight to Google and type in Quintin Shepherd. You'll find me on LinkedIn. You'll find the books. You'll find my history.
And the Quintin with an eye, folks. The Quintin,
Two eyes.
Two
That's
eyes.
Right. That's right.
Two
That's
eyes.
right.
So he can see. He can help you see better.
There you go. I love it.
Folks, that's the show. You're going to want to send this one off to a friend or two. So just encourage today to keep our dukes up and keep fighting. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Love you, brother.
Peace.